in this computer. Okie dokie. Well, in a few minutes, we are going to start with what is the information? Here. We're going to start with the Unitary Fund grant program by Misty Wahl. Well, Misty Wahl is a member of the technical staff at the Unitary Fund, working on quantum error mitigation and the error mitigation toolkit and MidKit. Okie dokie. Well, Misty, can you talk about you a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think, as already mentioned, I'm a member of the technical staff at Unitary Fund. I started as I started in this role in March of this year. Before that, I was involved with the quantum open source community. I was a Unitary Fund ambassador. Yeah, I've seen it both from the community side and from the technical staff side. And one thing that has been really great to get involved with is talking to some of our grant winners, and I'll talk about what the grant program is, and interviewing them and getting to know their stories and how the grant program has helped them and has helped build up the quantum ecosystem. And I think also, as already mentioned, my main focus at Unitary Fund is error mitigation, and I'm a developer of the toolkit MITIC. But today we'll focus a bit more on the microgrant program. So we'll get started.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so a little bit about Unitary Fund. So we're a nonprofit helping to create a quantum technology ecosystem that benefits the most people. And so, by ecosystem, right, we mean like a lot of different players. So of course, there are for-profit companies, there are universities, government labs, but there are also students and other people who are looking to get into quantum and maybe don't know exactly how to do that. So trying to bring this really broad community together, build up the tools and make them available to as many people as we can. And we do that through a few different avenues. One of them is the microgrant program, which is $4,000 US. It's no strings attached, although we do offer mentorship and guidance to the awardees. So someone comes to us with an idea and applies for a microgrant, and yeah, if accepted, then they get this money to fund their project. And we've given it out to quite a diverse array of people, different backgrounds. So we're really proud of that. A couple other things that we do, just to give an overview. So MITIC is one of our in-house research projects. It's a Python toolkit for quantum error mitigation. And the other one is Metric, and that's for community-driven quantum benchmarks. And so just also to mention quickly the team at Unitary Fund. So we have a number of technical folks, but also recently welcomed Ben Castanen as Chief of Staff. We've also had some awesome interns over the summer, Maria and Karen, through the Qubit by Qubit program, which was actually one of our grant projects, former grant projects. We're still connected with them. And also just mention our alumni as well, who've gone on to work at Microsoft, EPFL, and AWS Quantum. So a little bit more about what we're up to. So we host a lot of different open source projects on our platform on Discord, but also on our website and through our quantum software talks. One of those is Q-tip. We've also, many of our microgrant awardees are also part of this network. So it's pretty powerful community building for open source. We've also had hosted a hackathon, had 2 so far called Unitary Hack. And that is where we open it up to the community and offer prizes for participants to solve open issues on quantum open source projects that are in some way connected with Unitary Fund. Not just our internal research projects, but past microgrant projects, and also just other folks in the community where we think, yeah, that's a good project in quantum open source, and they can be part of it too. We also, for the first time this year, did a quantum open source software survey. Unfortunately, that just closed a couple of weeks ago, but we're certainly going to have it again. And this is to get a sense of what's going on in the community, what are the needs of those who work with quantum computing technologies. And finally, we have a Discord platform, and there we have community calls and also discussion channels and forums for many quantum open source projects. Okay, so now getting more into the microgrant details. So like I mentioned, it's $4,000, and it's for any open quantum project. Now we do look for projects that take like about 3 to 6 months to complete. We think, that's the right balance between impactful and also something that can be iterated on, completed pretty quickly, so we can see the results in a reasonable time frame. But that's just a guideline. We fund explorers across the world. So you don't have to have a PhD in a quantum related field to get a microgrant. We've even funded high school students. So we've funded hobbyists. We've funded people who just maybe had a background in classical open source software and wanted to build something for quantum. So really open in terms of who can apply. Anyone can certainly apply. And this is to, we started this program to fill the gaps, to have this like bottom-up approach of people who are in the quantum computing community, or just getting into the quantum community, but they see that there's something missing, something they think would be really helpful to them, or would have been really helpful to them when they were getting started, and that they realize can help the rest of the community. And if they have an idea of how to solve that, that's what we're looking for in the application. And speaking of the application, it's deliberately very lightweight. We don't have, it's pretty short. I think it's like 2 minutes to complete, plus a 2-minute video. And that's just so that we can get to know the applicant a little bit and kind of, it's kind of like a pitch, like why we should fund the project. And no strings attached. So there's no, we're not looking for equity or control over the project. We just want to, have our awardees succeed and build up the community. And they're generally open source projects, but anything, community building projects also get funded. Educational projects get funded. So really encourage everyone here to think about problems that they would like to see solved or gaps that they would like to see filled, and how would you fill that gap? And and then if you have an idea, definitely apply. And I also want to mention, we have funded over 50 teams, from over 20 countries, and we've gotten over 15 publications. So yeah, there's definitely quite a bit of impact, and also quite a bit of benefit for the grant winner to really springboard your career and help you get the experience, and also help you get the visibility in the field that you might not otherwise. A little bit about the process. So we have an advisory board, and they're from all over the industry, quite a few major players that reviews the applications, and we review on a monthly basis. So we try to get back to people pretty quickly, and try to give as helpful feedback as we can. And so we deliberately have brought in people with a broad array of expertise within quantum computing to help us evaluate the applications. And in fact, one of our former grant winners is now an advisor, Stephen Diadamo. So he worked on QNetSim and Interlink. He actually worked on 2 microgrant projects. So it's also possible to work on more than one. Yeah, so definitely very interconnected community, and we love bringing people, more and more people into the decision-making process as well. Some stats about the microgrant program. So I think this snapshot was taken maybe a little while ago, but we have over 250 applications, and from 23 unique countries, that might be 24 now. About 30% of our accepted grants request hardware access. So that's another thing. In addition to the $4,000 and the mentorship and the community platform, we also help our grant winners get access to hardware. Sometimes some of the money needs to go towards that, but there are also other ways to access hardware in addition to the grant money. And this gives a bit of a snapshot of how long it takes to complete, and or at least how long people think it will take to complete. So that's where kind of the 3 to 6 month timeline comes in. That's where we're really targeting is these kind of projects that can be completed in a relatively short time frame, but not super short, so they have some impact. And we're really hoping that we can expand this graph of the accepted grants and start to make it much more evenly distributed. So I think right now what this is reflecting is most of the people who know about the microgrant program are in the US and Canada and the UK, but we really want to change that, and that's why I'm here, to let people know about this amazing opportunity, and really want to see this shift here. And now I'll go into the some sense of what kind of projects are funded, and also how that can benefit your career. And I also have a video series about this. I think so far I have 2 up, and we just recorded another. There's the amazing thing about these projects is the ongoing impact. So once the library is created, or once the educational program has gotten started, to see people continue to build on this, and also to see that people are recognizing them as experts, as people who can organize within the quantum space. It's been really amazing to see. And the first one I want to talk about is QRAND. And Pedro Rivero was the grant winner for that one. And before winning the grant, he was a PhD candidate in quantum computing. He wanted to build an efficient multi-protocol and multi-platform digital quantum random number generator. And do that according to different probability distributions. And so he created QRAND. It's a free and open source framework for quantum random number generation. So he has a library up on GitHub that anyone can access and contribute to. And it's compatible with multiple platforms and quantum random number generating protocols. And yeah, it's you know, a pretty useful tool. So I think one of the really exciting things about this, though, is like the skills and experience that he was able to gain from executing the project. So he was actually, his original background is in mechanical engineering. And so he was able to learn a lot more about software, about open source software, designing good software, and a lot of the tools that are used for that. And as well as, of course, becoming more of an expert in quantum random number generation. And since the official completion of the project expanded the compatibility of QRAND and the possible outputs. And now he's a postdoc at Argonne National Lab. So definitely this project, you know, has put him on the map, and you know, is something that people can still access and see, like the ongoing impact this project. Next is quantum universal education. And you might recognize Alberto and Sam and Leah from this. And so, yeah, so at the time of winning the grant, Leah was a CS PhD student, Alberto is a PhD student at the National Polytechnic Institute of Mexico, and then Sam is a Qiskit advocate. And so they had an idea to build community-driven open source educational resources in quantum computing. So it's not, you know, so I mentioned before, right, QRAND, the toolkit, now we have an educational project. And so, yeah, they built the PIQUE community with a Discord server, YouTube channel, and social media channels. Built a website of learning resources and a blog. And yeah, there are quite a few tutorials. There's a journal club, educational comics, and probably my favorite, the t-shirt design contest. So really getting people excited around quantum computing, learning quantum computing, and making a welcoming environment. And yeah, they were featured in the IEEE Quantum Education Report for teaching and mentoring high school students in quantum education. And I think another thing that was really cool was they mentioned that some of the skills and experience they gained were not just quantum computing skills or learning more, although definitely teaching other people is a great way to learn something. But they also got to experience global remote collaboration with diverse teams through this project. So it's not just the purely technical skills, but it's doing this within the quantum space, and also educational program development. And again, this is a project that even though, you know, the official development period, so to speak, has completed, there's still quite a bit of impact. If anything, probably a growing community So they're sponsoring events, a meme competition, and then this event. So yeah, it's all, you can see, right, that this these grant projects, they can start pretty small, but once people start to see what the value in the project, then it becomes something much bigger. And finally, I want to mention the project Toucan. So this is another open source library, and it was done by Ling Lau. And so at the time of winning the grant, she was a postdoc at University College London and working on quantum compilation, quantum error correction. And she wanted to build a compiler for 2 local qubit Hamiltonian simulation problems. And so that became Toucan. And Toucan includes permutation-aware techniques for qubit routing, gate optimization, and scheduling. And it targets multiple architectures and instruction sets. So this was deliberately something where she was taking something that she was researching in compilation and making it into something that could be used by anyone in the community on multiple backends, multiple front ends or instruction sets, and make it much more useful and widely available as a result. And again, on Ling Ling's side, so she mentioned that she learned more efficient coding practices through the project. She learned how to build an open source project and how to build the community around one. So that's something that our mentors and advisors are happy to do, is to help guide our grant winners in doing that. And as well as enhanced compilation techniques. So it's a combination of advancing her own research, just like with Pedro and QRAND, was a combination of advancing her own research, but also making it into something useful and learning how to make it open source. And in terms of the impact after the project completion, so she published at the International Symposium on Computer Architecture, and yeah, people are very interested in the Toucan paper and the software, and folks from the community are actually proposing improvements and still actively contributing. So that is really exciting. And so with that, I will stop here in terms of the slides, but I just want to say, I hope that this encourages all of you to think about the problems that you're solving in your research, or that you see, gaps like in the quantum tech ecosystem. And if you have an idea for a project in open quantum technology, please apply. You can just go to unitary.fund/grants, and the application is pretty quick. So I hope this has given kind of a better idea of what the grant program is all about, and what you can do with it, and yeah, the impact that it'll have on your own career and on the quantum computing community.
Okay, thank you, Misty. You had a great presentation. Well, we're going to start with some questions. I don't know if someone have a specific question. I'm going to start with reading the chat. The first one, Hugo Ojeda says that what kind of project are you most interested in supporting?
What kind of projects do we support?
But I don't know, is a personal question about you or in general of the unitary,
Okay.
well, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I got it. So yeah, well, a lot of the projects we fund are software libraries, you know, that are open source, or that the applicant wants to make open source. So, you know, it could be you want to create a library. It could be you've already developed a library, but you want to put it, you know, make it into a form that's more usable, and that's easier for people in the community to contribute to build on. So that's probably the most common type of project that we see and that we fund. Now there are a lot of toolkits in open source that didn't exist a few years ago, partly because of this program. So now we're looking more towards major improvements to existing toolkits. So like if you have an idea for a major feature, but you're going to need hardware access to, you know, test it and prove that it's useful and that sort of thing, or you're going to need to be funded to do it. It's a big enough undertaking. You know, I mean, of course, it would be good, right, to get in touch with the people who, you know, the original developers, the maintainers of that repo, but, you know, especially with their support, you know, that's something that we're definitely looking at, is trying to make what's already out there a bit more useful. But certainly there are still plenty of gaps where really no toolkit exists. And, you know, if someone has an idea for something like that, then we would definitely consider funding it. The other kind of project that we fund, you know, that we funded in the past, at least, have been these educational projects. And for that, I would say, before applying, I would really encourage people to take a look at the material that's already out there. There are already some really great resources, just to make sure that you're not duplicating something that already exists. But of course, there are plenty of things that still don't exist. Like recently, we just funded someone to make some educational resources on quantum error correction, because there's still not a whole lot out there beyond the very basics or the much more advanced material. So kind of getting in that like intermediate level space, you know, that was really exciting to see. So, you know, okay, now that's going to exist. So need to find yet another area, but yeah, I think also, like, you know, resources in other languages. I mean, right now, mostly everything is in English. There's a few things in Spanish, but not a whole lot there yet. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And another question said, Miguel Gonzalez says, what does 501 C3 mean? Maybe this one is in your first slide. Mention 501 C3 mean. I don't know if you already explained that.
I'm sorry, I don't think I quite understand the question.
Yes, in your, well, in the first part of your presentation, you mentioned something about 501 C3 and
okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, because I was thought someone was asking about a certain statistic. Oh, okay. No, it's just the kind of nonprofit organization that we are. So yeah, 501c3 is just like a designation by the US government for tax purposes, actually. So we just kind of have that on like all of our material, but I think it's only something that maybe people in the US would know. But yeah, it just means we're a nonprofit organization.
Okay, well, the next one is Jordan Hernandez. Well, that's not a question, it's a comment, but I'm going to jump to another question, and this one going to put in Discord, and maybe we can discuss on Discord later. And well, the next question, Diego Rodriguez says, in which stage does the project need to be applied for the grant?
In which
Stage.
oh, which stage?
Stage.
Okay, yeah, so it could be just an idea, actually. It, but it needs to be developed enough in detail, like at least written out, that is, in enough detail that we can, make an informed decision about, whether it's likely to work, and whether it's likely to be completed in a reasonable amount of time. So yeah, or it could be something that has been around for a while, and maybe just like needs to be made open source. And so, I mean, I don't mean like made open source just by like put it on GitHub and that's it, but kind of like it needs to be developed a bit more so that it's more user friendly and, it's easier for people in the community to contribute to it. So it could be, something that's like kind of ongoing, building on top of something that's already been around for a while. It's deliberately very, very broad.
Okay, thank you very much. And the following question, Jose Ignacio said, what does successful project, aka projects that you granted, have in common?
I mean, I think a few things. One is that the applicant, there was a good match between the applicant's existing skills and knowledge and the idea that they had, the project idea that they had. And so there is actually, I don't think it's necessarily a direct question, but kind of in our prompt, we say like, why are you the right person to work on this? And so I think that's part of it. They had enough expertise in that area to know what was likely to work and what was not. But that's not to say that they knew everything or that they had all of the skills that they needed that by the end, until the end of the project. So some of those things, like they built some of those skills and some of that knowledge they built as they went along, but they had enough at the beginning to kind of be able to scope it out properly and conceive of it well. So I think that's one thing. I think another is just, determination to make it work, and definitely being very proactive, both, during the official duration of the project, but also afterwards in terms of maintaining it and updating it, getting more people involved to work on it.
Yeah, it's a little difficult because doesn't exist a recipe to do a successful project. Well, in my opinion. And well, the next question is for Jordan. Is the application open or are there specific dates to do it?
You can apply at any time.
So
okay. We evaluate them on a monthly basis. So you might hear back within a few days, or you might hear back, within a few weeks. It just depends on where we are in the cycle. But yeah, we review them every month. So you can apply anytime.
Okay. How many projects in years support Unitary Fund?
How many How many what?
Projects, ideas, support Unitary Fund in 1 year?
Oh, well, we don't really, right now, we don't really have a limit. I mean, theoretically, we do in terms of our own funding, but yeah, right now we're just looking for good applications. So yeah, there's not a hard limit right now based on the application rate.
Okay, thank you. The next question is Lupita Esquivel. I have a question. If PPL get a mini grant like this from you, what are the obligation for PPL, people, sorry, who get the grants? Thanks. Well, I'm going to read again. I have question. If people get a mini grant like this from you, what are the obligation for people who get grants? Thanks.
What is the application process like?
No, the obligation, the responsibility.
Oh, obligation. Oh,
People
okay.
who get the grants.
Oh, obligation. Okay. Yeah, so the way it works is if you're accepted, you get a notification email, and then we give out half of the grant at the start of the project. And then we'll also connect you with whoever on the advisory board has volunteered to be your mentor. And so a lot of times we'll have an initial check-in. A midpoint check-in is required to get the second half of the grant, so halfway through the project. And then, yeah, a final check-in is also, kind of the last obligation, and any requested follow-up from that meeting. But really, it's very lightweight. It's just, do your best to complete the project. Attend your midpoint check-in and final check-in, be prepared for those. Connect with your mentor, at least during those check-ins, but the mentors we do make ourselves available as much as we can for discussions in between. So don't feel like, don't be a stranger. We're there to help. But yeah, we deliberately make it as much like the focus on completing the project itself. There's not really there's no report, we don't have a lot of meetings, and it's deliberately so because we just want the actual deliverable that that you described in your application.
Okay, thank you very much. And well, I don't see more questions, but I have another one. Can you share with us some contact of the Unitary Fund or link that we
yes.
can show more, see more information about this project?
Let me put it in the chat. So yeah, it's just unitary.fund/grants. And there's a link to the application form. You can also take a look at previous grants. We have a gallery there of all of the projects that we funded. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Someone has another question. Well, I don't see more questions, but in conclusion, at the end of this one, Alberto, you want to say something about this?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Misty, for this presentation, for this talk, and for your time, because I know you are very busy with a lot of events, a lot of projects in Unitary Fund. And thank you so much for sharing this idea in Unitary Fund and for Latin America or Spanish speakers people, because they can see part of the one project It was a project online here. Actually, that project changed my life because it was starting in quantum computing and now to the science, moderate different projects that I interviewed like you did me in the last 2 months. So that kind of event you can change, you can improve your skills independent of the kind of the project. And yeah, I feel so comfortable with the Unitary Fund teams, with Nathan. Actually, Nathan is a great person. Uh, Andrea, other great person. They had a lot of amazing projects like Unitary Hack. They can improve a lot of projects and open source projects in quantum computing. So you will keep in follow this kind of event because you can contribute another magazine project. So even you can start like this kind short project. You can improve your knowledges and you can be in another project like a mentor. If I'm not wrong, uh, Stefan, Stefan, I think is the name. He using Honestic. I think it's a framework about protocols for network or quantum network. He studied in Unitary Fund, and I see he's now working in Cisco, and he's a mentor for the Quantum Open Source Mentorship Program. So that is amazing how you can study with a basic idea. You can keep following the idea. You can improve your skill. Well, actually, I think Unitary Fund, if you obtain a microgrant, after 2 years, you can obtain a great job or a good research project. That is how you can start it like a basic person, and now you are an expert. That is the amazing thing in this kind of events, and Unitary Fund helps us a lot of too much actually. And this event actually keeping working with us in this event, and thank you so much for that.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, and yeah, I hope to see some applications from the audience soon.
Thank you, Misty.
All
Thank you,
right.
everyone.
Thank you very much, Misty.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, muchas gracias a todos
Bye.
por los que están.
Bye.
Bye, Misty. Muchas gracias a todos. Recuerden, falta todavía otro taller y se les mando el link.